The horrific scenes of World War II made the world realize that war is not a solution to any problem. To prevent any country from dominating others in the future, organizations like the United Nations were formed. It seemed the world would finally be free from war. However, no one anticipated that in the 21st century, a war would erupt that no one could stop. We are talking about the Russia-Ukraine war, which has been ongoing for the past 2 years. Despite 143 countries voting against Russia in the United Nations, Putin has not stopped attacking Ukraine. Neither European countries' sanctions nor NATO's threats have deterred Putin's determination. While superpowers like America and Britain threaten to stop the war, Putin continues to write the story of Ukraine's destruction. The world is divided regarding Putin. Some consider him an aggressive dictator, while others view him as progressive and Russia's most committed leader. However, very few people in the world know Putin's life closely. Born into a poor family, Vladimir Putin makes every decision fearlessly. As a child, he wanted to become a spy, so he joined the USSR's intelligence agency, the KGB. When his mood changed, he entered politics and became Russia's longest-serving president. How did Putin, who aspired to be a spy from childhood, become Russia's beloved ruler? What is Putin's real story, which led him from an ordinary spy to the presidency? Vladimir Putin was born on October 7, 1952, in Leningrad, USSR, which is known today as St. Petersburg. Petersburg. 1. This was the city that the German army besieged for 872 days during World War II. 2. During this time, 800,000 people were brutally killed, and millions died of hunger and thirst. Putin was the youngest of 3 brothers in his family. His father, Spiridonovich Putin, worked in the USSR Navy, while his mother, Maria Ivanovna Shelemova, was a factory worker. Before Putin's birth, both his elder brothers had died. One brother died in the 1930s, and the other succumbed to the famine that followed World War II in 1942. Putin came from a poor family. Even with both parents working, it was difficult to make ends meet. The whole family lived in a dilapidated room. Conditions were such that Putin spent much of his time outside the house chasing away rats. Poverty and hardship plagued not only Putin's home, but the entire Leningrad area, making fights and quarrels common. In such an environment, the ambitious young Putin began to make himself powerful. Against his parents' wishes, he started learning judo. Within a few days, Putin mastered judo along with skills like fishing and horse riding. Between 1960 and 1968, Putin completed his primary education up to the 8th standard in the Leningrad primary school. In 1970, he completed his high school education at St. Petersburg High School. According to his teacher, Vera Gurevich, Putin didn't know what he wanted to do until the 10th grade, but seeing his potential and energy, anyone could understand that this child would do something extraordinary. Putin was not only ahead in sports, but also had an interest in reading. In his free time, Putin would read the thoughts of Karl Marx and Lenin. Whenever he had time, Putin enjoyed watching cinema. This cinema brought a significant change in his life. Inspired by a spy movie, Putin decided from childhood to become a spy. His passion for serving the country was so intense that, when he was in the 9th grade, he went to the USSR's intelligence agency, the KGB, to ask for a job. However, the KGB officers told Putin that a law degree was necessary to become an intelligence officer, and somehow persuaded Putin to go home. But Putin ingrained this in his mind. Then, in 1970, Putin enrolled in the law department of Leningrad State University. From 1970 to 1975, Putin spent his time studying law. Finally, in 1975, he completed his degree. Now the question was about a job, and the 23-year-old Putin got a job in the KGB in 1975 itself. For Putin, this job was like a dream come true. After working for 10 years in his hometown of Leningrad in 1985, Vladimir Putin was sent to Dresden in East Germany as a German translator. In those days, the KGB needed officers who knew German because at that time, Germany was divided into East and West. After World War II, the East was under USSR occupation, while the West was under the influence of America, France, and England. To keep an eye on politically connected individuals in East Germany and prevent them from taking any action against East Germany, another secret police agency, the Stasi, whose full name was the Ministry for State Security, was also working in Germany. As a German translator, Putin's excellent work and intelligence were discussed throughout the KGB organization. And that's why soon, on behalf of the KGB, Putin also worked with the Stasi as a police officer, where he kept an eye on activities against the USSR within Germany. And due to this, within a few days, the responsibility of tracking NATO's plans also fell into Putin's hands. Soon, all the authorities regarding who to recruit and who to transfer in the KGB's Dresden office came under Putin. At that time, Germany was occupied by 4 countries. After the end of World War II, West Germany was under the influence of America, France, and Britain, while East Germany was under the USSR. From the beginning, the people living in East Germany were not happy with the USSR's occupation of them. They felt that the USSR government was not doing anything for them, so they wanted to unite with West Germany, which was under American influence. It was also true that at that time, America had spent a lot of money in West Germany to increase its credibility, and the people there lived more comfortably compared to East Germany. Therefore, thousands of people started leaving East Germany for West Germany in search of a better life. At that time, the atmosphere in the German city of Berlin had become quite bad. Due to the continuous increase in migration, the USSR built a wall in Berlin to prevent the people of East Germany from going to West Germany. But this Berlin Wall also could not stop the people of East Germany. Soon, the people of East Germany started standing up against the Berlin Wall, and finally, on November 9, 1989, a crowd of thousands of people together demolished the Berlin Wall. At the time the Berlin Wall was broken down, Putin was stationed in the KGB's Dresden office in East Germany, after the crowd that erupted after the fall of the Berlin Wall attacked his office. Seeing the danger, Putin requested help from the USSR's military headquarters in Dresden. In response, no help was provided to him, and he was even told that until orders came from Moscow, they would not provide any assistance. At that time, Putin had only 2 options: either surrender to the crowd or somehow escape and save his life. But the thought of fleeing did not even cross Putin's mind. In that critical moment, Putin decided to confront the crowd. He came out of the office and stood in front of the crowd. Then, addressing the crowd in a loud voice, he said that if anyone moved forward, the guards inside would start firing weapons at them. There was so much confidence in Putin's words that not a single person dared to move forward. Gradually, the entire crowd returned. That day, Putin had saved the KGB office and himself, but deep down, the thought kept bothering him as to why Moscow had not sent anyone to save him. This was no less than a trauma for Putin. The person who was ready to do anything for his country was left to die by Moscow when he was in trouble. Gradually, Putin understood that the people who had seized power in the USSR had no concern for their citizens. At the time of this incident, Mikhail Gorbachev was the president of the Soviet Union. The people of the Soviet Union were also not very happy with Mikhail Gorbachev's policies. Although he had tried to build good relations with America, the people of the USSR did not like this. He had also taken responsibility for the security of Afghanistan, but there too, the Mujahideen had defeated the USSR, and Gorbachev could do nothing and was forced to withdraw his army. Due to his weak policies, the Berlin Wall was broken down, and finally, the collapse of the USSR was also seen during his governance. Therefore, the anger of the people of the USSR against him increased. Compelled on December 25, 1991, he resigned from his post. In 1990, Putin retired from active service with the rank of lieutenant colonel in the KGB and returned to his city, Leningrad, where he started working in the External Relations Department of the same Leningrad State University. It was during this time that he met Anatoly Sobchak, the first democratically elected mayor of Leningrad. Anatoly Sobchak was very impressed by Putin's behavior and made him his advisor. Here, a major turning point came in Putin's life. After taking this post, Putin began to see the active politics of the country a little more closely. In 1991, after the collapse of the USSR, Leningrad was renamed St. Petersburg. Petersburg. Putin continued to fulfill his responsibilities well. Due to his excellent work, in 1994, Putin was made the deputy mayor of St. Petersburg. Petersburg, and this was his first entry into politics. Upon gaining power, Putin started doing excellent work within the city. Corrupt officials were sought out and suspended. Within a few days, Putin's image as a clean leader had been established within St. Petersburg. However, in 1996, the mayoral election took place in St. Petersburg, and this time, Sobchak lost the election. After Sobchak's defeat, Putin also lost his position. Due to his work in the KGB and as the deputy mayor of St. Petersburg, Putin had become acquainted with senior leaders and officers in Moscow. After losing the deputy mayor's post, Putin took advantage of this and moved to Moscow. In Moscow, he met Valentin Yumashev. Valentin Yumashev was the son-in-law of the then president of Russia, Boris Yeltsin. Impressed by Putin's personality and work style, Valentin Yumashev arranged a meeting between Vladimir Putin and President Boris Yeltsin. On March 26, 1997, Boris Yeltsin appointed Putin as the deputy chief of the presidential staff. Boris Yeltsin drank excessively, and his public image was not good. He had no sense of presidential decorum. He would start dancing among people while intoxicated. Several cases of corruption were also registered against him, and as time went on, the corruption cases against Boris Yeltsin also kept increasing. There came a time when Boris Yeltsin was considered the new face of corruption in Russia, due to which the people of Russia were quite angry with him. But, on the other hand, Putin continued to climb the ladder of success. Putin had become very close to Anatoly Chubais in Leningrad and had won his trust, and along with that, he kept getting promoted to administrative positions. Due to his good work and dedication, Putin soon became the Secretary of the Security Council, which was the highest civilian service rank in Russia. Putin was well aware of Boris Yeltsin's condition, and due to his work in the KGB, he also understood presidential powers very well. And that's why, as soon as he got the opportunity to work with the president, he fully involved himself in Russian politics. Boris Yeltsin did not have time away from drinking, and in such a situation, Putin now handled most of Boris Yeltsin's work. Putin started to fully use his decision-making skills, the effect of which was that within a few days, all of Boris Yeltsin's work started to be done correctly. Due to the changing circumstances of the country, Boris's trust in Putin grew. Due to his Shandar leadership and aggressive thought process, Putin won Boris Yeltsin's full trust within a few days. Boris remained the president of Russia from 1991 to 1999, and by this time, Putin had completely taken control of the country's politics, and from here, the fate of Russia, along with Putin's, was about to change. On August 9, 1999, President Yeltsin appointed Putin as the acting prime minister of the Russian Federation government. After this major power shift in Russia, Putin received real power. Since the collapse of the USSR, Chechnya had declared itself an independent state and was constantly embroiled in conflict with Russia. Though Chechnya was nominally free, Russia's influence there had not diminished, and this was the reason for the ongoing conflict between the two countries for years. In 1994 to 1996, and again in 1999, the fighting between them was at its peak. In that year, Islamic fighters from Chechnya had spread terror inside Russia. Bomb blasts were taking place everywhere. In August 1999 itself, Chechen fighters bombed several cities in Russia, including Buyansk, Moscow, and Volgodonsk. More than 300 people were killed in these apartment bombings, and about 1,000 more were seriously injured. This incident fueled the already raging fire against Chechnya within Russia. The anger of the Russian people was soaring. The Russian public wanted the Chechen terrorists to be eliminated at any cost. Seeing the increasing terrorism within the country, President Boris Yeltsin resolved to teach Chechnya a lesson this time. The entire responsibility for handling Chechnya was given to Putin. As soon as he got power, Putin declared war on Chechnya and ordered an attack. Putin said that now, Moscow's rule would prevail over Chechnya. Thousands of soldiers entered Chechnya. Hospitals, schools, civilians, whoever came in front of the Russian military was destroyed. A scene of devastation had spread within Chechnya due to this war by Russia. More than 80,000 people were killed. This war is known as the Second Chechen War. Cameras were fitted on the helmets of Russian soldiers so that the people of Russia could see how the deaths of 300 Russian people were avenged by the destruction of Chechnya. A new image of Putin emerged in Russia from this dangerous revenge. People within Russia started seeing Putin as a hero. 2 months after this incident, in December 1999, Boris Yeltsin suddenly resigned from the post of president. By that time, Putin's popularity had spread throughout Russia. Besides, Putin was close to Boris Yeltsin, so on December 31st, 1999, Putin was made the acting president of Russia. In March 2000, presidential elections were held in Russia. The people of Russia showed their full faith in Putin. In the election results, Putin became president for the first time with 53% of the votes. Upon assuming office, Putin started doing excellent work within Russia. After this, he vowed to eliminate corruption from Russia. A crackdown began on corrupt people. The army became stronger. People's income increased. The country's GDP was growing. And the benefits of Putin's presidency gradually started reaching the public as well. People who were on the verge of starvation began to live prosperous lives. Inflation was decreasing, and people's incomes were increasing. In fact, there was another reason behind all this. At that time, the international demand for Russia's oil was increasing worldwide. With the increase in demand, oil prices also rose, due to which the income of the Russian people also increased, and poverty gradually disappeared. This change in Russia after Putin became president led to him being seen as a great leader, the impact of which was seen in the next presidential elections held in 2004. This time, Putin received 71% of the votes, and he became the president of Russia again. The continuous victories had made it clear that Putin was now the supreme leader of Russia. The Russian constitution allowed a person to be president for only 2 consecutive terms. After becoming president in 2000 and 2004, Putin's 2 terms were completed. Putin's opponents in Russia thought that he would be out of the Kremlin in the 2008 elections, but Putin had something else in mind that no one could have imagined. In the March 2008 elections, Putin made his close associate Dmitry Medvedev the presidential candidate. Due to Putin's influence, Dmitry Medvedev won the election and became president, and Putin became the prime minister. Putin's masterstroke had completely defeated his opponents. Putin and Dmitry Medvedev together amended the Russian constitution in September 2011. Until now, where the president's term was 4 years, it was increased to 6 years. In 2012, preparations for the presidential election began once again in Russia. Putin was ready to become president for the 3rd time. According to the Russian constitution, there was a ban on becoming president for more than 2 consecutive terms. But it was nowhere mentioned that a person could not become president 3 times. This was the reason Putin filed his candidacy for the 3rd time and started campaigning. This thwarted the plans of those who wanted to see Putin out of Russian politics. Consequently, protest against Putin was carried out by leaders of opposition parties in different cities of Russia. But these protests could not harm Putin in any way. The public once again supported Putin. In March 2012, Putin became the president of Russia for the 3rd time. Similarly, in 2018, Putin became the president of Russia for the 4th time. In Russia, the president is given the status of head of state. According to the constitution here, the most power is in the hands of the president. Even judges are elected according to the president's wishes. Nominally, Russia is a democratic country, and anyone can contest elections here. But despite this, the election results always come in favor of Putin. Just as Putin does not listen to anyone outside the border, similarly, there is no place for people who speak against Putin inside Russia. After becoming president for the first time, when Russia's richest man, Mikhail Khodorkovsky, tried to rebel against Putin in 2003, he was accused of fraud and tax evasion and sent to prison for years in 2005. All the property of his oil and gas company, Yukos, was auctioned off at a value lower than the market price. In Putin's Russia, going against the country directly results in a death sentence. Journalist Anna Politkovskaya is the best example of this, who questioned the violation of human rights in Chechnya in her reports, after which she was killed on October 7, 2006, while entering her apartment in Moscow. A similar incident was seen on June 23, 2023, when the chief of Russia's private military partner, Wagner Group, Yevgeny Prigozhin, rebelled against the Russian army. Putin met with Prigozhin and calmed down the matter, but exactly 2 months later, on August 23, 2023, his business jet crashed, in which 9 other people were also on board with him. After this incident, speculations were being made that it was not an accident, but a well-thought-out plan to kill Prigozhin. As soon as Putin took control of Russia, many incredible changes started to be seen within Russia. In most of the countries that separated after the collapse of the USSR, the influence of Western countries, especially America, was increasing. This posed a challenge for Russia to secure its borders. Ever since Putin came to power, his focus has been on the borders, whether it was the occupation of Georgia in August 2008, fighting a war with Libya in 2011, or occupying the Crimean city of Ukraine in 2014. Putin has made his intentions clear. Nothing is more important to him than the security of the country. And this is the reason why, despite the opposition of the entire world, Putin has been continuously involved in armed conflict with Ukraine since 2022.